Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Buffalo nickel value coins, exploring their iconic design, hidden treasures, and shocking history as we reveal the top 3 most valuable and ultra-rare U.S. nickels. The coins featured in this video include 1936 Buffalo Nickel, D Mint, Denver. 1936 Buffalo Nickel, S Mint, San Francisco. 1930 Buffalo Nickel, No Mint Mark, Philadelphia. These historic coins are struck in 75% copper and 25% nickel composition and feature the legendary American Bison reverse design, one of the most iconic images in U.S. coinage history. At first glance, these coins may appear dirty, worn, and heavily circulated, often with faded dates and details. But don't be fooled. Certain rare mint varieties, errors, and high-grade condition examples have turned some of these classic nickels into collector treasures worth thousands, and in rare cases, even more, dollars today. Money bag. So before you overlook that old Buffalo nickel in your collection, stick around, because you might be holding a hidden fortune in your hands. Backhand index pointing right first up. Coin number 1. Welcome back. Today we're diving into a coin that looks simple, but carries a story far deeper than most people ever realize. The 1936 Buffalo Nickel from the Denver Mint. A small 5-cent coin. Worn. Dirty. Heavily circulated. The kind of coin people overlook without a second thought. But hidden inside its design, its history, and its journey, is something far more powerful. Because sometimes, the most ordinary coins are the ones that hold the biggest secrets. At first glance, this coin feels familiar. On one side, the strong profile of a Native American. On the other, the bold presence of an American bison standing firm on the ground. This design is not just art. It's identity. It represents a time in American history when coins were made to tell stories, not just carry value. The Buffalo nickel, introduced decades earlier, became one of the most iconic coins ever created. And by 1936, it was already part of everyday life across the nation. The 1936 D version was struck at the Denver Mint. Millions were produced. Sent out into the world with no special attention. No expectation of rarity. No sign that one day, collectors would search for them with intense focus. At that moment, it was just another coin. Just another piece of change. Something to spend. Something to forget. But time has a way of changing everything. As this coin moved through circulation, it began to transform. It passed through hands, through businesses, through moments that no one remembers. Each exchange left a mark. The sharp details slowly faded. The high points wore down. The edges softened. Dirt and age settled into its surface. What was once a perfect coin became something rough, something aged, something most people would ignore today. But here's where the story shifts. Because in the world of coin collecting, perfection is not always the goal. Sometimes, it's the journey that matters. Sometimes, it's the subtle differences that make all the difference. A slightly different strike. A unique detail. A small variation that most people never notice. These are the things collectors look for. These are the things that turn ordinary coins into something unforgettable. The 1936 D Buffalo Nickel exists in many forms. Some are common. Some are heavily worn. But a few stand apart. Coins with sharper details. Coins with unusual features. Coins that survive time just a little differently than the rest. And when those rare characteristics appear, even on a circulated coin, the value can rise far beyond expectations. Not because of what the coin was, but because of what it became. Think about it. A coin that has lived through decades. Through economic changes. Through generations of people. It carries history in its surface. Every mark tells a story. Every worn edge reflects a moment in time. And for collectors, that connection to the past is priceless. It's not just about money. It's about owning a piece of history that still exists today. Now imagine finding one of these coins. Not in a museum. Not in a special collection. But in everyday change. In an old jar. In a forgotten drawer. It happens more often than people think. Because valuable coins don't always announce themselves. They hide. Quietly. Waiting for someone to notice what others have missed. And that's the real power of the 1936 D Buffalo nickel. It reminds us that value is not always visible. That something worn, something overlooked, can still hold incredible potential. But only if you take the time to look closer. Only if you understand what you're holding. So the next time you come across an old nickel, don't rush. Don't ignore it. Take a moment. Study it. Because hidden in that small, worn piece of metal could be a story, a history, and just maybe a value that could change everything. Welcome back. Today we're stepping into the story of a coin that looks worn, quiet, almost forgotten. The 1936 Buffalo nickel. A small 5-cent piece from the San Francisco Mint. Nothing flashy. Nothing modern. Just an old coin that has traveled through time. But sometimes, the coins that look the weakest carry the strongest stories. And if you've ever held one of these in your hand, you might be holding more than just a piece of metal. At first glance, the design feels powerful yet simple. A Native American profile on the front. Strong. Calm. Timeless. And on the reverse, the American bison stands heavy and grounded, almost frozen in history. This isn't just a coin design. It's a reflection of a nation's identity during a very different era. The Buffalo nickel was created to represent something real. Something raw. And by 1936, it had already become one of the most recognizable coins in the United States. The 1936 version was minted in San Francisco, quietly entering circulation with millions of others. There was no announcement. No expectation of rarity. It was made to be used. To move. To live in everyday transactions. It passed through hands in small purchases, simple exchanges, and ordinary moments that no one would ever remember. But over time, those moments began to leave their mark. Years passed. Decades moved on. The coin began to change. The sharp details faded. The high points on the design wore down. The edges softened. Dirt filled the spaces where once there was clarity. What started as a clean, perfect coin slowly became something aged, something rough, something most people today would ignore without a second glance. But this is where the hidden story begins. Because in the world of collectors, coins like this are not judged by shine alone. They are judged by character. By detail. By the tiny differences that separate one coin from another. A slight variation in strike. A subtle detail in the date. Even the position of the mint mark can change everything. And the 1936 Buffalo nickel is known for having those small, important differences. Some of these coins were struck stronger than others. Some show clearer details in the bison. Some reveal sharper lines in the portrait. And a few carry unusual characteristics that make them stand out completely. These are the coins collectors search for. Not the perfect ones everyone sees, but the rare ones hidden among the ordinary. The ones that require patience. The ones that reward attention. Imagine a coin that has survived nearly a century. Moving through generations. Sitting in pockets, drawers, collections, always there, but never truly noticed. Until one day, someone looks closer. Someone sees what others missed. That moment is what turns a simple coin into something extraordinary. Because value is not always obvious. Sometimes, it's hidden in plain sight. The truth is, not every 1936 Buffalo nickel is worth a fortune. Many remain simple pieces of history. But the possibility, the chance that one of them carries a rare detail, a stronger strike, or a unique feature, that possibility is what keeps collectors searching. It's what makes every coin worth checking. It's what turns curiosity into discovery. And that's the real power of this coin. It reminds us that even something worn, something overlooked, can still hold incredible importance. That history doesn't disappear, it stays, quietly waiting to be found again. Every scratch, every faded line, every mark, tells a story that cannot be replaced. So the next time you see a Buffalo nickel, especially one from 1936 with that small S mint mark, don't rush past it. Don't ignore it. Hold it for a moment. Look closely. Because hidden inside that aged surface could be something rare, something valuable, and maybe something that changes the way you see every coin forever. Welcome back. Today we're uncovering the quiet mystery of a coin that almost everyone has ignored at some point, the 1930 Buffalo nickel with no mint mark. A simple 5-cent piece. Old. Worn. Faded by time. The kind of coin that slips through fingers without a second thought. But sometimes, the most overlooked coins carry the deepest stories. And this one has been hiding its story for nearly a century. At first glance, it feels familiar. The strong Native American profile on the front. The powerful American bison on the reverse. A design that doesn't just represent money, it represents identity, heritage, and a moment in history when coins were made to feel alive. By 1930, this design had already become part of everyday American life. People didn't admire it anymore. They used it. Spent it. Passed it on. Without realizing what it could become. This particular coin came from the Philadelphia Mint, which means it carries no mint mark. No letter. No obvious sign of origin. Just a date and a design. That absence makes it feel even more ordinary. Even easier to ignore. But sometimes, what's missing is just as important as what's visible. Because coins without mint marks often blend into circulation, disappearing into the background of everyday life. When it first left the mint, it was perfect. Clean surfaces. Sharp details. Every line clearly visible. It was never meant to be rare. It was made to move. To circulate. To live a long, unnoticed life in the hands of countless people. And that's exactly what it did. It traveled through shops, markets, and pockets, quietly becoming part of daily routines that no one remembers today. Over time, everything changed. The once sharp details began to soften. The high points wore down from constant use. Dirt and age settled into the design. The coin lost its shine. It became rough. Faded. Heavily circulated. To most people, it would now look like nothing more than an old piece of metal. Something with no real value. Something to overlook. But this is where the hidden value begins to reveal itself. Because collectors don't always look for perfection. They look for differences. Small details that most people miss. A slightly stronger strike. A clearer date. A unique texture. Even in circulated condition, a coin can stand out if it carries something just a little different from the rest. And coins from 1930, especially those without mint marks, can sometimes carry those subtle differences. There's something powerful about a coin that has survived this long. Nearly 100 years of movement. Of exchange. Of history. It has passed through generations, through changing economies, through moments of uncertainty and growth. And yet, it's still here. Still existing. Still carrying every mark of its journey. That alone gives it meaning beyond its face value. Now imagine discovering one of these coins today. Not in a museum. Not in a collector's case. But in your own change. In an old jar. In a forgotten drawer. It happens. More often than people think. Because valuable coins don't always stand out. They hide in plain sight. Waiting for someone to slow down, to look closer, to notice what everyone else has missed. The truth is simple. Not every 1930 Buffalo nickel is worth a fortune. Many remain just coins. Just history in metal form. But the possibility, the chance that one of them carries something rare, something unique, something that collectors are searching for, that possibility is what makes every coin worth checking. It's what turns curiosity into discovery. So the next time you come across an old Buffalo nickel from 1930, take a moment. Don't rush. Don't ignore it. Look closely at the details. Feel its weight. Because hidden inside that worn, quiet surface could be a story, a rarity, and maybe a value that goes far beyond what anyone ever expected.